Have you ever reminded Laurent Brossoit that you got drafted ahead of him? Probably no.
I have not. No, we were drafted the same year.
Yeah.
But no, I definitely haven't said that to him.
Please welcome to the show Jason Kasdorf as we look back to the 2011 NHL Draft and your draft experience. So before we even get into the Jets coming back and all that stuff, let's go through your draft year. Always overwhelming for many people. Take us through your 2010-2011 draft year.
Yeah, so it was a really interesting year for me. It was the first year that I basically started talking to different colleges about scholarship opportunities, and it was the year that I started talking to NHL teams, which obviously the year before I didn't have any of that. And then going into that year, after lots of games, talking to teams and getting lots of phone calls. So it was a really exciting year, but also really motivating having these teams call and then you kind of feel like, yeah, I might have a future in hockey. There's potential to play pro hockey. And so, yeah, it was just a really, really cool year. Definitely adds some pressure, but I really loved it.
I think you just made a very good point about that. So some people would be overwhelmed by it, but you chose to go the other direction, and it motivated you. So what was that like to go out to practice every day knowing that there are people calling and people watching at all times?
Yeah, no, it was super motivating just knowing that once you realize that, hey, I can make something of this, I basically tried to turn that pressure into motivation and energy, and just every day at practice, just focus on getting better and better, and knowing that if I can make something of this, I gotta do it now. And so, yeah, just working super hard every day to do my best.
Now, you said, going into that year, the year before, 2 guys were drafted from the Manitoba Junior Hockey League.
Yeah.
Did that kind of give you hope in some ways that there was that possibility maybe for you and for other guys in the league for that matter?
Yeah, definitely. I think it definitely paves a way. And yeah, like you said, it gives you hope. Like once one person does it,
for sure,
then it's like, yeah, this is a real thing that can happen. And so I think it's a lot about having a positive mindset and believing in yourself, because you never know what's going to happen. But yeah, it was nice that there was a couple guys that got drafted the year before.
The best part of the stories you were telling me about before we taped this podcast is that you didn't even know you were on the Central Scouting draft list. So take us through that story when a teammate informed you of what that was like.
Yeah, we were on the bus to a game, and then one of my teammates, he mentioned that I was on NHL Central Scouting, which at the time I didn't even know what it was. So I thought he was just messing around, and so I Googled it, and sure enough, I found my name. It was pretty early in the season, and so I think that was kind of the start of once I realized, like, yeah, there's potential to get drafted, and I think that's where it all started with really, really being extra motivated and turning that pressure into good energy.
Did you find yourself looking at the Central Scouting list quite a bit after you saw your name on there the first time, or did you kind of stay away from it after that?
Yeah, no, I looked at it just whenever there was updates and stuff. I was pretty on it. Just, I don't know, just naturally, I think you want to see where you stand. And as the season progressed, things got better and better as far as my play went. And so then I slowly started to get ranked higher and higher, and I think there's motivation in that, right? All of a sudden you see yourself jump in the list, and it's like, okay, this is real. This could happen. And so, yeah, it's definitely a really cool experience.
What did you like the most about talking to teams when they come see you guys, when they watch your games?
I think the coolest thing for me was just, my coach would say, hey, there's somebody outside to talk to you, and then you go out and you don't know who it's going to be, and then they have an NHL logo on their jacket, right? And I'm playing junior hockey. Like, obviously the NHL is cool for anyone, and then you're talking to a team, and you're like, oh, wow, there's potential to maybe get drafted by this team. And so every time you come out of the room, you don't know who it's going to be, but it's, yeah, I think when you realize that this might be a real thing, and it's something that you've dreamed of since you were a kid, I think that's pretty special.
Who did you talk to the most leading up to the draft that year?
Leading up to the draft, it was definitely the Blackhawks that I talked with the most. There was a few different teams, but they were definitely showing the most interest.
Of course, Kevin Cheveldayoff was assistant general manager there, so there's a little tie-in coming here momentarily as we go down this interview. As we get to the NHL draft, there's rumblings going around that the Winnipeg Jets, so the NHL could be coming back to Winnipeg. What point did you catch on to that, and what point did you believe that could be a possibility?
Yeah, I think shortly before the draft, you realize, there's a team in Winnipeg, but at the time there was 30 teams, I think. And so in your mind, you're not thinking, will it be Winnipeg? Will it be these guys or those guys? Because I knew I would be a later round pick. I was just hoping to get drafted. And so basically to anyone, I thought it would be cool, let alone your hometown team. I didn't even really think of it as an option. So
where were you when you found out the Jets were coming back, and how excited were you and your family for that matter?
Yeah, I don't remember exactly where I was when I found out, but there was like mumblings about them coming back, so you kind of knew it might happen. But for my family, it was really cool. Like when my mom was young, she went to lots of the Jets games, the 1.0, and she lived down the street from Brett Hall, went to school with him.
Okay.
So like Bobby Hall. And so she was pretty invested into the team and really loved the team. So I think being drafted by them was really special for her too.
Your dad's from Brazil. Has he caught hockey fever at all?
Yeah, no, he loves it. I played, they got me into soccer a little bit when I was young, but it just wasn't my thing.
Yeah, all right, height for a soccer goaltender too. So
yeah. No, a bunch of my cousins play soccer, but I don't know, never was really my thing.
Okay, so what made you decide to go to the draft?
You know what? Once I talked to enough teams on the phone, and then the teams that I talked to, they all said you're for sure getting drafted. I know that because one thing that I was a little bit worried about is you go down there and then you don't get picked. And I think it would be pretty tough to watch whatever it is, 200 other players get picked, and you're sitting there and you don't get your name called. So I was kind of debating it. Do I want to go or not? And then my family was like, oh, let's go. This will be awesome.
So how many people went? What was the...
It was my mom, dad, my two sisters, and my sister's husband, and my wife at the time girlfriend.
Okay. That's a pretty big contingent.
And actually my uncle and aunt were there as well.
Okay.
So yeah, it kind of feels like, oh, I don't want to feel like I've let these people down if I don't get picked or anything like that. But yeah, I'm glad that I went, and it's not too far of a drive, about 8 hours to Minneapolis, and so it was well worth it.
So round 4 goes by, round 5, round 6. How are you feeling at that point?
I was getting a little bit nervous because, even whatever, like I knew that if I was to get drafted, it would be a later round. But you're seeing all these guys get picked. You're like, okay, it's getting later and later, and you just don't know when you're going to get called or if you get called at all, right? Sometimes people get called earlier than they think, and sometimes later or not at all.
Right.
So you just really don't know what to expect. And the other thing is, if I talk to, say, 12 different teams, right, you kind of have those teams in your mind. So every time they're calling out, you're kind of ready, like, okay, is it going to be me? And then it's like, no, okay. And then the next team that's calling, oh, I didn't talk to them, so I'm not paying too close of attention, kind of thing. So. And
you had said you had not talked to the Winnipeg Jets at all, so you had no inclination that they were interested in you. But there is a connection with, of course, Kevin Cheveldayoff and, of course, Wade Flaherty ties into this as well. Because talk about Wade in this whole situation.
Yeah, so Wade was with the Blackhawks at the time, and he came that season to come watch me when I was playing junior hockey. And the hotel he was staying at, I guess the Moose had some sort of convention or banquet, and there was some management and staff there, and they ran into Wade, and they're like, what are you doing here? And he was like, oh, I'm here to watch this goalie, Jason Kasdorf, this and that. And so me and Wade talk about it now. He's like, I think I put the bug in their ear.
You owe me.
Yeah. No, exactly. And so, yeah, I don't know how much that had to do with it, but yeah, maybe a small part of it.
Hi, I'm Mark Scheifele.
Oh, here comes Scheifele, moves in, shoots and scores!
And this is the Ground Control Podcast.
Okay, so your name gets called, and you just told me a little while ago that you didn't hear you didn't know it was the Winnipeg Jets that had called you. So take us through that story.
Yeah, so like I said earlier, it was like I was more so focusing on the teams that talked to me. Like if it was Chicago drafting, then I'm like paying close attention. It's like, hey, could be me. And then other teams I wasn't following along as closely. And so when it was the Jets' turn, I actually didn't even realize it was the Jets picking. And then all of a sudden I heard my name. And so I stand up and I didn't know who picked me. And so I give my girlfriend a hug. And I was like, who picked me? And she's like, the Jets. And I'm thinking like, no way. And so then I go down my whole family giving them all hugs. And I asked every single one of them. And they're all like, it was the Jets. And then the last person I gave a hug to was my dad. And I was like, Dad, who was it? And he's like, it was the Jets. And I was just blown away. I just thought, wow, this is so cool. And then went down to the floor and got my jersey, met everybody at the table. And yeah, it was pretty surreal.
And Wade obviously was there too, right? Would he have been? Or actually, I'm not sure if Wade is.
I don't believe he was.
Yes.
And now it was, whatever, 13 years ago or something. So it was like, it was a while ago. And that, you meet so many people throughout the organization that now I'm trying to remember who was all there. But
you saw the NHL style jersey that the Jets were handing out that year because they hadn't made the announcement fully at that point and the jersey weren't ready. What did you think of it? And then you obviously have one of those jerseys, correct?
Yeah, I have one of those jerseys. I thought it was pretty cool because I got that jersey, and then once the Jets confirmed the logo and the jersey, then I got one of those as well. So, yeah, it was pretty neat.
Were you in the rink when they made the announcement that the Winnipeg Jets for the first round then?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, because the first round was the first day, so I went to that.
How cool was that to hear them make that announcement then?
Yeah, it was awesome.
Yeah.
It's just so cool. Like, I love the city. And before the Jets even came back, it was just like hearing about the history and just how my parents went to games and they loved it. The whiteout. There's just so much cool history with the team and the organization. And so, yeah, seeing that and getting to be a part of it, I think has been really special.
So you're here from the start. So who's still a big part of your friendship group from those first 3 or 4 development camps?
Yeah, so definitely the guys that I got drafted with and going through camps. So Scheifele and Lowry were drafted the same year as me. So we went to probably 3 or 4 development camps together. And then the next year would have been Helly. There was Ehlers, Morrissey,
Trouba.
Trouba, It was next year. But yeah, as for guys on the team, those are the guys that I've kind of been the closest with, just because we did about 4 camps together, and so then yeah,
that's great.
Had a good relationship with them.
You were part of the Evander Kane trade to Buffalo.
Yes.
What was that? Where were you when you found out about that, and what was that reaction like for you?
Yeah, it was. I was in college at the time, and I think I was studying for an exam. And my agent had texted me. He said there might be a trade happening. I'll keep you posted. And then all of a sudden, I got a call from Jimmy Roy, and yeah, he told me he's like, hey, you know what? This is what happened, and we talked about it, and yeah, it was. Yeah, I had mixed feelings because I really love the Jets organization, my hometown, but at the end of the day, what I ultimately wanted was to be able to play in the NHL, and I kind of thought whatever team that's with or whatever route that is, I'm good with that. That's the dream, is to play in the NHL. So yeah, wherever that is, I'd be happy with it.
Well, soon after being dealt there, you made your NHL debut, and how cool was that? And take us through that day or those 24 hours leading up to it.
Yeah, no, it was definitely really cool. So I signed with them and then finished the rest of the year in the NHL. I was injured for a little bit leading up to my debut, but once I got on the ice, I got a few practices in, and there was only a couple games left in the season, and so yeah, the one day at practice, the goalie coach just said that's year end, and so I knew what was happening. It was a really special feeling. It's something that you dream of as a kid, since I was, say, 6 years old. And then almost 20 years later, it's like the dream has come true, right? It's years and years of hard work and dreaming and all these things. And then to finally be able to fulfill that dream. And especially for my family, too, the amount of support that I get from my parents, my wife, sisters, cousins, uncles, aunts, like everyone. I think it was pretty awesome for them too.
Yeah.
Because over the years they would come to games and just tons of support and love from all of them. And so it was like, I think it was really special for them as well.
Okay, so how many people came to the game, and what was getting tickets like for you?
Yeah, I think it was about 20 to 30 people.
Mm-hmm.
And I said to my wife, I was like, you're just gonna have to deal with everybody in tickets because I don't want to focus on that.
For sure.
Like on game day, it's like, it's like people are like, hey, I'm flying in, right? And I was like, I got to focus on the game. But we were really fortunate because one of my best friends, he lives in Buffalo, and his father-in-law has a friend who had a box in Buffalo. And they were super generous, gave us the whole box for the game. So almost everybody was able to fit in there. So it was like big crowd in there. And so it worked out really well because then a lot of people didn't even have to deal with tickets or any of that stuff. So yeah, their family was extremely generous with that.
What's the one thing that stands out to you about that game?
I think the biggest thing is just you get onto the ice, they're about to drop the puck, and you're kind of looking around, everything just feels a little brighter, a little crisper. You're looking at the visiting team, like everything just, you're like, this is it, the highest level of hockey in the world. This is what I've dreamt of my whole life. This is what I've worked for. And then even just, when you're going onto the ice, it's like, I've been watching some of these guys for years. Like, I'm warming up beside Sergei Bobrovsky, right, who's in the finals now. And, it's like, yeah, I'm warming up beside one of the best goalies in the world, and yeah, it's just pretty surreal. Just when you watch these guys every day on TV, and then it's like, now I'm part of it. It was really cool.
And now that your career's over, what memorabilia have you kept and will keep for the rest of your life?
I think the things that I'll keep forever, there's some jerseys that are really special to me. So I'd like to frame those, put those in my basement. All my helmets, just because the paint jobs and stuff, they all have meaning to me. So I've kept all of those. And then just a few of my sticks that have my name on them, I think is kind of cool. I mean, my kids, they're all girls and they're not all that interested in hockey. So it's to them, they're just kind of whatever.
Yeah.
But for me, those are the things that are the most special to me.
Well, it's come full circle. You were drafted by the Jets. Now you work for the Jets part-time, I guess is the best way to put it. How did that all come about, and how much are you enjoying being the extra goaltender?
Yeah, I'm loving it. I met up with Wade Flaherty, Jets goalie coach, during one of the games at intermission, and I basically told him I'm retired, and he's like, hey, you know what? Sometimes we need a guy for practice, or hell, he won't do pregame skate. He's like, maybe we can get you a net, and just so the guys don't shoot it on an empty net. And then I think within a week or two, I started skating with them, and then it just kind of snowballed. And it's been really special to do that because obviously I'm not playing anymore, but just being in that team atmosphere and the environment, you basically, in a sense, kind of feel like you have a small contribution to the team. And just like we talked about earlier, all the guys that I was drafted with, being able to see them, and I was never able to play with them, but now being able to practice with them, hang out with them, have pregame meal with them, like it's it's good. They make me feel very included, and all the staff are amazing. I get treated super good. I get treated like I'm one of the players, and it really goes to show like the staff, like from the top down, just how the organization's been building, and the type of people they are and the type of players they want on their team. And I think a year like this where they end up in 4th place, I think it was, when they were projected to be quite a bit lower down. I think it just goes to show the type of people that they have in the room, and the type of people surrounding the players.
I'm sure a lot of people want to know, what kind of job would you have that you're able to take off in the morning and take basically the entire morning off before returning to your job? So what are you up to, and how do you make that work with your schedule?
Yeah, so I get asked that quite a bit. So I have a construction company, and so basically I'll take a look at the Jets' schedule, and I have kind of a rough idea based off the history of when I know Helly likes to skate or likes to get some extra rest depending how much he's playing. So I kind of have a rough idea when I think I'll be skating, and then sometimes I'll text Wade Flaherty and just see what the week looks like. And generally I find out the night before if I'm practicing, but I'm somewhat flexible with I have a really good worker, and he takes care of stuff, and so I'm able to usually make it work.
The boss gets to tick off every once in a while.
Yeah, exactly. I did bring my worker to one of the pregame skates, which he always wanted, and I really liked it. So
that's awesome. Have you ever reminded Laurent Brossoit that you got drafted ahead of him? Probably no.
I have not. No, we were drafted the same year.
Yeah,
but no, I definitely haven't said that to him. But I really like him. He's a good guy, and he's an awesome goalie, and I think we're really fortunate to have him for the years that we have.
Jason, appreciate your time. Wishing you all the best, and thanks so much for sharing your draft stories with us.
Yeah, you bet. Thanks for having me, Jamie.